What it is, Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs today in the studio, folks. I don't even have to say that I got a real treat for you because you're about to find out. Christine Beckwith is joining me. What's up, Christine?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Dudette. Thanks for agreeing to
I'm
do
a
it.
dude.
And folks, if you guys don't know Christine Beckwith, basically she's a bigwig in the banking space, highly sought after speaker and subject matter expert in the real estate and mortgage finance circuit. And this, my notes say Christine has broken glass ceilings and raised the bar for women in the mortgage industry. Now, here's my question: whoever made these notes, why for women? Why haven't you just raised the bar? Period.
hmm So I have,
But why for
not to,
women? Why
yeah,
for
I
women?
think the reason that they say that I've raised the bar for women is because during my 30-year tenure, about 2% of women in the first 20 years of my 30-year career had ever held executive seats in the American banking industry. So right around the time when I became an executive vice president of sales, which was for H&R Block mortgage division, I was with them for over 10 years. And I climbed through from an area manager in Boston up to district, up to regional, and then eventually to senior vice president, where I had 900 originators and 210 branches pointed to me. At that time, that made New York news because H&R Block was the biggest international accounting firm in the world. They were publicly traded on Wall Street. They were 52 years old the year I became an executive there, and they had never had a woman ever at the helm of one of their finance divisions. So at that time, I became one of the top 10 highest ranking women in American banking history to run a national finance firm. And so right around that time in the next 10 years, we worked really, really hard to open more doors for women. That number would grow to 4%. Today it's 9%. But still in sales, in the sales side of mortgage finance, it is very lopsided and it's about 20 to 80% men to women. And so
Got
I've
it.
been able to, help with my women's coaching and the different things I do, open doors for more women to take seats. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome that that's the case, but I like to just question things, question the narrative. I
Yeah.
like when people say, she's raised the bar for women. The first thing in my head is, oh, so you didn't really raise it for the men, you just raised it for the women. It's like, I bet you if we looked, you raised the bar, period,
I
regardless
did.
of
Yeah.
of for women.
No, that's a really good point you make. And I'll say this if it's okay. 98.5% of the people who worked with me and for me were men in my 30 years. And I'll tell you, those guys would run through walls for me and they would vouch for me. I will tell you, I got a lot of advice opening this company, and I had a lot of people. I don't want to say they insulted me because these people had good intentions, but they said, you should open a women's coaching division for the banking industry. And I said, who's going to come? And they said, what do you mean? And I said, who's going to come to my women's banking coaching firm? Because that's like 10% of the whole damn thing. Like, I don't want to grow a company. And by the way, did you know that 98.5% of my following, 5,000 loan originators were men? And, I can't open a company for women. And I didn't. I opened a consulting firm for the mortgage industry, which, by the way, there are not a lot of women consultants in the American banking industry. There's a lot of female speakers. There's a lot of females that have been on the ops side. There are a handful of people like myself that are out there on the circuit talking that have been female sales executives, which is great. And that has grown. But a year after, I had so many women coming out of the woodwork and writing to me and saying, why aren't you running a women's business coaching division? And I said, because I ain't that kind of girl. Like, I'm not a woman libus. In fact, I think we should just show up and do good work. We need to get results. Put down our picket signs. We don't need to get an extra piece of the pie because of our gender. We need to show up and show that we can run our businesses the same way. Gender should not be part of the conversation. We'll get a lot more respect that way. Very controversial position that I held, not what women libists wanted to hear. And because of what I had accomplished, it didn't deter them from following me. And then I thought, okay, this isn't scaring them away. Maybe there is a place for me to do this. So today I have the largest and fastest growing division of women business owners in the American banking history ever. And what's wonderful, about that is we are not advocating necessarily. We are over here working on our businesses, and we are the true blue all business owners, and they're millionaires, women that are running big banks, big brokerages, and they're coming to me for financial forensics advice, real banking advice, and we're doing business work. And so I can live with that. And I've grown into my skin that I am an icon for the women in the American banking industry. And today I think I can help them more than a lot of women advocates really find their way in a realistic way.
Yeah, and that's good. And just let me clarify for the listeners, it's wonderful that that's happening, but I wanted to be clear that you didn't just raise the bar for women, you raised the bar. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Know I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Yep.
So
I
yeah,
gave them a run for their money.
Yeah, I don't want people thinking, oh, Brand's one of them guys. To me, dude, I don't see. This is crazy. I don't even see gender. Like if I'm hiring somebody, I want someone that can do the job. I don't care if they're male or female. I honestly don't. And if I did, I'd probably lean towards female. Why? Well, because females smell better, right? 9 times out of 10, and they I think make the office look better. But I don't care, man, woman, shit, whoever can do the job better. But at the end of the day, Christine, you're inspiring women and helping women. That's awesome. But at the end of the day, you're a badass, correct?
I guess I am by many people's definitions. If I don't know what bad equates to.
Badass. Ass
I'm
kicker.
not. I guess I have thick skin. I'm a Harley Davidson riding girl. I grew up in a part of the country that bike rallies came to, Laconia, New Hampshire. Shout out to all the people out there. Biggest rally area in the country. And I was a little girl growing up there with 2 sisters and a dad that was scared to death to let us outside the yard when the bikers would come to town. But he put us on bikes at young ages. I was on my first motorcycle at 5, a Honda 50. And then I would go up to like an 85, a 125, a 250, a 600. And then we all rode street bikes by the time we were 18. But we didn't see that world. We were not allowed into that world. And so here's an interesting thing. I still own
what do you
a
mean?
beautiful.
What do you mean?
What's that?
What do you mean that world? You mean like
So there's a stigma.
outlaw biker gangs? What are you talking
Yeah.
about? What world? What world we talking about?
Yeah, the biker world. People
I know,
look
but
at.
there's outlaw biker gangs, and then there's
Yes.
people that enjoy bike.
Yes. There's many flavors of bikers, FYI. There's yuppie bikers, and there's cliques within, and there's segregation within, and there's stigmas within. And when you start going to the rallies, of course, there's lots of clubs. I was never a member of any club, but I'm a true blue rider. And so I ride really well. And my idea of a nice weekend in my 20s was throwing a backpack on my bike on a sunny Saturday and riding a 300-mile trip alone to see my boyfriend up in Maine at the cabin on the lake. And it would take me 5-6 hours. I can remember riding on the highways and literally having other biker groups ride up on me and circle me on true stories on the highway and ride with me for like 40-50 miles, never talking, just riding our bikes. And then they'd peel off on an exit somewhere and I'd keep going and they'd give me a wave like, I don't know where you're going, girl, but go. And so I just always had that. I guess I stayed true to who I was. My dad did a really good job of, because I was raised, country and we didn't have a lot. It's not a poor me story either. I'm not going to go down that road. I've never felt that way. I've actually felt that I was in a boot camp that made me the perfect type of person to have a good work ethic. And I wish more people had that type of upbringing. We were rich in every measurable way. We sat for dinner. We went to church on Sundays. We were morally, grounded, good neighbors, good people. But yeah,
That's
I really
what
didn't
counts.
fit. And that was a secret, by the way. Nobody knew I was a biker in the banking industry. I for the first 20 years, I wore Hillary Clinton business suits. My hair was pulled back. I sat at the boardroom tables. I did the job that I had to do, and I went home. And on the weekends, I traded the bank suit for my motorcycle. And I secretly, to this day, I have my
Leathers?
bike driven to Myrtle Beach. And I take a trip. I fly there to meet my bike that's been driven by trailer. And I spend a week with my biker friends. And then I fly out and they ride my bike back for me.
In leathers? Do you wear leathers?
I wear leathers. Yeah, I owned a lot of cowhide at some point in my life, lambskin, because it keeps you warm and it protects you. So it's practical clothing for sure.
What do you
Yeah.
ride?
I have myself a 1994 stripped down Harley Davidson Sportster 1200 that has now a frame from a Heritage Softail, which has a raked forward frame. I changed all the cables. It has an MS dot set of lights. It has a lower rear end. My back fender is a Steeler fender, which I bought from Jesse James himself. I have a picture of him holding my fender. The wheels are rimmed by Orange County Choppers, as is the brake wheels. And I have pictures with Mike Sr. and the boys for those. My bike's called the Black Widow, and it has a black stretch tank, and it has invisible ghost flames on it that are iridescent. Can only see it in the sun. And it has spider webs on the carburetor. Pretty cool bike. Drag pipes, straight bars, lowered 260 Metzler rear end tire, solo seat.
260 Metzler. You went over the top on that one.
Yeah, it's a nice ride.
Dude, what made you pick the 260 Metzler?
Just because I got the fat Steeler rear end fender, and you needed the right tire to fit underneath that thing. You know, I had a chop fender once, but I got rid of that because you'd ride, and when you rode in the rain, it would splash water up on my back like a tail fin. And I said, okay, this wasn't the smartest idea here. But I had a period of time I didn't ride. When I had my son Jagger, something happened to me mentally where I guess I realized that my role was to make sure that he got where he needed to go in life, and that putting myself in danger, which it is dangerous, was probably not smart. And so I avoided a lot of dangerous things the first 10 years of his life. I rode, you know, as he got up 5, 6, 7 years old, I started riding again. And then by the time he was 10, I was riding a lot more again. He's 15 now. And, you know, he knows his mom rides, you know, he's figured this all out at this point. So, and now I ride a lot. I'll ride to go get a coffee from Dunkin's in the summer.
You've never been in a accident?
I've been hit by an elderly woman in a van parked on the highway when I was stopping to turn, and she didn't see me, and she hit my mirror. Her mirror hit my mirror, and it actually pushed my bike over. And I had some damage to the bike, but I narrowly escaped like getting hit by her. So that's it.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, no, I've been super lucky. I've laid it down a couple times. It's 600 pounds, and I turned on a soft sand driveway at a girlfriend's of mine, and the tire just dug into the dirt. And you know, the biggest mistake you make when you're laying a bike down is you end up accidentally throttling, and if it's in gear, it'll kick the back tire out and spin. And so I've ridden enough. I actually went and took the intermediate and expert riding courses that the insurance companies put on in the state of New Hampshire, because I kind of wanted to just test the cones and, you know, like what I could do. And there's a lot of valuable information. I'm a geek. I'm an educator today, as you know, and I love learning. I love reading. And so those classes inspired me, and it taught me a lot of things like the 12-second rule, where when you're exiting on a highway, where to put the bike on the ramp, because there's sandy spots that collect sand in the off ramp. So you stay high instead of going down to the low. That's where bikes get into trouble. And so all that information, you have to be a defensive driver to be a motorcyclist. You have blind spots all around you, and you have to be aware. Yeah.
Damn, you're a serious rider.
I am.
Only
and
a
I
serious
resent
rider.
the people that ride for those motorcycle rallies that aren't prepared to ride, because they're putting all of us in danger. And I love new riders, but man, you guys got to get out and put some miles on your bikes and then come and hang with all of us. Because when you stop at the stoplight in traffic and you fall over on your bike because you don't remember to put your feet down because you think you're on a snowmobile or something, like that's not a good thing. So no, but
those people annoy you. Those temporary ones that like ship their bikes out and then fly out and sit on it.
I just know there's a lot of people right before bike week that order bikes. And if they're brand new drivers, for God's sakes, they owe it to themselves. You know,
Oh yeah.
the terrain alone. Like, I don't care where you go, Sturgis, you know, if you go to Daytona, if you go to Fort Myers, if you go down to South Carolina for their rally, like wherever you go, the terrain is not easy. You know, to hold a 600-pound bike on a hill in Laconia, New Hampshire, stuck in traffic because of the bikers, and to hold that bike steady, balanced, with your hand holding a brake and your foot holding the brake and balancing on one foot with a 600-pound machine and being stuck in that traffic for an hour uphill. It's like, imagine being at the gym and doing a squat on one leg, your other leg's up on the bench, your hand is forward holding a dumbbell, and you have to hold that position for 60 minutes. And now
And
you'll
you
know.
forgot and you forgot a spike pointed at your rectum.
Yeah, exactly. You
Because
know,
if you're
which
going
hurts
uphill,
girls too.
hey, if you're going uphill for an hour, shit, I wouldn't be going to those rallies.
Getting stuck in those traffic areas. Yeah, I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. Then you're parking in these, you know, all these fields get opened up by companies, like, because they have there's 100,000 bikers. They go to these rallies, so they're park in my hay field. Well, it's got divots and holes and everything else. You have to know what you're doing. So,
Well,
anyways,
once you get to know what you're doing and you've paid your dues, then you're allowed to fly out and meet your bike.
that's it. Meet your bike for a week.
Otherwise, you better ride that bitch 500 miles like you're supposed to.
Yep.
Because you imagine when everybody's rolling into Sturgis, all that noise and shit, that man, they've been coming from all over. Little do they know,
Yeah.
there's some smart folks that just had it shipped there,
Yeah.
flew in all comfortably, hopped on it, went down and had the fun, and then handed it to somebody and flew home. Because that's how I'd do it.
Yeah. Well, the far away ones is, you know, South Carolina. That's what I'm doing, is flying my bike in. I've done the ride from far thing. I had a really funny story. I was dating a new guy, in my life many years ago before I got married, and he did not ride bikes. And when he found out I did, he hurried up and bought one. And we were riding a 3-hour ride to go to the bike rally. And anyways, his bike broke down literally as we were coming into the hill in the main part of the hub with hundreds, you know, thousands of people. And he could not get this bike started. And I knew exactly what was needed on that bike. He was riding a hardtail, and we pulled over on the side of the road, and he said, it won't ride. I said, well, you were backfiring, and I think the gas air intake is running rich. And I think we're going to need to like shut that off and let it air out. And then we're going to roll it down this hill, and we're going to pop the clutch and turn it over, because you flooded the ignition, the starter. And so I tried to talk him through doing that. So he went down the hill, but he missed the timing of pulling the clutch because it's got to be rolling into first gear. Anyways, long story short, after he pushed this bike back up the hill twice with thousands of people watching him, he looked at me covered in sweat because it was 95 degrees out. And he said, "Can you do this?" And I said, "I think I can." And I got on his bike and I rolled it down the hill, and I popped the clutch and started it to an arousing crowd that was like, there it goes. We somehow did still last dating, because that sounds super emasculating, and it was not my intention at all. I will say this: in my real life, I have a boyfriend of 13 years. And in my real life, I want my man to be my man, to be the man, to be the pants wearer in the house. I like that role in my life. Suits me well. I'm old fashioned a little bit, and I'm an older girl. And so as much as my persona in life and business has been very elevated and wonderful, you know, that image of an executive banker doesn't define my whole personality, of course. Yeah.
What percentage of bankers do you think are successful?
Success to me, I guess, is relative, and
Let's say
if we
let's say
let's define
financial
it.
success. Financial
Financially
success.
successful. Yeah. Well, the great thing about the banking industry is it'll weed you right out if you're not. So you're anyone that's failing. I mean, who is successful in banking? Anyone that's in it. Because if you're in it, there's only red or black. You cannot be in the banking industry if you aren't. You can be in the red a month or two. Some banks, of course, can carry capital. We know the banking. I'm not speaking to the national, the federal reserve, or we're obviously in an American deficit economically speaking. We know that the major lenders have been financed and falsely inflated on the government's behalf. But as an individual banker running a bank or a brokerage, success is defined by running a sovereign company whose profit is greater than its debt. And I would say 95% of them that are alive and running are in that spot. What tests that theory? We're coming off a robust economy where the rates have been low for a period of 2 years. And so everybody's pockets are filled. And it's despite the pandemic and the need to go virtual, the banking industry soared last year in that economic environment. This year becomes more challenging, but still a great economy, I will tell you, because people still have equity. Demand is high. Prices are going for top dollar. So if you're selling or thinking of selling, I know people go, well, I'm not going to buy at the top of the market. Well, you should buy at the top of the market because if you're trading a house, your house is at the top of the market and it's apples to apples. If you lose the equity in the house you're selling and you get a cheaper home, well, you didn't really get ahead because you might have less to put down. You might end up in a position where you're a higher risk. You might have to pay mortgage insurance, all of these things. So I think it's a great business to get in. A lot of people found their way into the American banking industry, much like myself, by accident. Nobody is growing up and writing on their kindergarten piece of paper, I want to be a loan officer when I grow up, or I want to be a banker. But somebody says, man, I'm making a lot of money over here. And then they teach them how. I've probably brought thousands of people from the outside of our industry in it, construction guys, friends of mine, people that you teach. I'm proud today. We are coaching hundreds of new to business bankers under 2020's roof. It's one part of our firm. 85% of who we coach are top producing, very profitable banks. We are a fulfillment company that provides resources in the way of loan officer training, financial forensics, everything you can
Loan
imagine,
officer.
health and wellness, all of the above.
Hey, I just made a new friend named Glenn Stearns.
Yes,
Glenn Mindy
kind
Stearns.
lending
Yeah,
CEO.
how do we connect you guys? Is there some sort of opportunity between someone like you and someone like Glenn and Mindy?
Yeah. So Glenn knows me and I know Glenn, but not well. But I interviewed Glenn as a correspondent for a national conference last year at the beginning of pandemic. And our worlds are about to come together too. I can't disclose why because I have an NDA, but I got some people over here that are headed in his direction from an employment standpoint. And yeah, he has an amazing culture. I love his story. I actually know his story from interviewing him. I believe in what he's doing. Culture, as you know, we share that love culture. And he gets it, you know.
Man, we went from talking about 260 Metzlers to
We're
freaking,
doing good.
the state
We're
of the
showing all the
economy.
wares.
That's high level shit, Christine. That's high level shit.
Yep.
Like again, I talk to a lot of people and I can keep up with a lot of things. Banking and that whole space, it always is just a little smidge above the line for me. Like
Yeah,
I don't even know how a banker makes money. Like why would I get into banking? How do I make money?
yeah. So if
I'm not the bank. It
yeah.
ain't like I got a shit ton of money. What does a banker do?
So in layman terms, if you give me $20 on Monday and I give you 30 on Friday, then, and you got a lot of 20s, then you can make a lot of 30s. And so what happens with banking is there are people that amass capital and they either personally finance or they get warehouse lines from investors that do. So all the people that got a lot of money out there are either backing up the banks who put the process and draw the audience in, the client and the consumer in. Mortgage brokers aren't and mortgage bankers aren't starting out typically, mortgage loan officers with this big amount of capital. These are a lot of times college kids, or someone getting in from some other field, and they're literally just walking in and getting their licenses, and somebody else is fronting the money for them, of course. But the big boys that are really putting up the money, they're looking for the 30s because they got the 20s. And so in my mind, I got in it because basically, if you can imagine owning a really nice restaurant, and if you become a bartender or a waitress, you get a little piece of that capital. People come in to eat. You're not running the restaurant. You're not supplying the food, but you're hustling the product for the restaurant owner. Well, as a mortgage loan originator or loan officer, in layman terms, you're the waiter, you're the bartender for the bankers. You're bringing the clients in, you're explaining what's going on, you're taking their application, their order, you're fulfilling it using the money that the restaurant owner, or in this case, the banker, has. And so a lot of us find our way in. That's how I got in. I was an understudy for a female originator in Massachusetts. I was putting myself through college seeking a sports medicine and nutrition degree. And I got the bug. When I got out of college, I saw the kind of money she made doing loans, and I thought, I can do this. And I became an aerobics instructor and physical trainer and a nutritionalist part-time instead of full-time, and I became a loan officer full-time. And so what would happen is I would do well in 2 or 3 years of kind of being out there. And I will say this is what weeds everybody out. Everybody thinks this sounds good when you see the bank that you eventually can make. It's got a way high end. So an individual loan officer coming into our field, he could easily, or she could easily, in 5 years become a millionaire, a multimillionaire, be making over $1 million a year if they build their database right and they do great service and they learn this business. That's probably 20% of mortgage loan originators get to that point. The other 80%, the middle 40, probably make about $500,000 a year, right? And then the bottom 40%, I'll even go the bottom 20, the very bottom 20 fail. And then the 20 right under the middle 40 are just they're starving to death and they never really understand. They miss something. They don't quite get the database right. They don't quite work hard enough. The biggest thing is the initial hurdle of there is such a steep learning curve. And there is also a lot of bread and water that has to be eaten to get to years 2 and 3. The first year that I became an originator, I left a processing job for $52,000 a year. And I made 26 grand my first year as a loan officer, which obviously was stupid. By math, I had a $52,000 job. I traded for 26 grand. But the whole time I knew that I was building, I was out there hustling and asking people to send me business, and I could feel the tide coming. But I know that's where I saw a lot of people that were in it with me. The road gets lonelier as you walk it longer. Like people start falling off, and the test becomes, can you keep walking down this road? Can you stay strong enough? So year 2, I popped to 76 grand, and year 3, I went to 128, and I never made less than 6 figures after year 3. And then it just grew, and it just grew and grew and grew.
Interesting. Yeah. If I were listening to this, I'd be thinking, where do I go to get a job like that?
Yeah. Look at your local area. Look up brokers, look up bankers, see if they're hiring. A lot of them are. Loan officer. That's the entryway. That's the entry.
You just go apply to be a loan officer.
Get your license. You have to go to the National Mortgage Lending Association to get your license. Now, 2008, after the crash, license is required. Not hard to do. Plenty of schools out there to learn with. Yeah.
And that mainly, do you help loan officers, or who do you help with 2020 Vision for Success?
Yeah. So we do. We have a loan officer school as one of the 6 areas that we consult. We've built a full school here. So if you start day 1, you will start with building a business plan and, using light speed VT, we are able to train hundreds and hundreds of people in the banking industry, all from the mobility of their phones. They can do it while they're walking, talking, driving.
And you can do it effectively.
Yes, effectively. They are certifying in my school in 24 areas, fundamental, business fundamental, and sales skills. And then when they get those done, listen, they have 80 more classes in there. And, 24 certifying, then 80 of them are, it's the CVS, Walgreens of banking information. You can just go to the CVS. What do you need this week? And we've built it like a pharmacy. We have reading libraries in the file vaults. They can download that stuff, put it in their CRMs. We have a librarian who is just feeding that file vault every month and sending out a notice that we got new stuff in the file vault. You got to go in there and check it out. And we have a promo program for certification. So every Wednesday, we got a whole staff of student ambassadors that show up to congratulate those people who have certified in a class this week in the last 7 days. And we supply social media content curation through the postables so we can get them active and get those algorithms bringing marketing and, activity towards their modern marketing, which we certify in 5 areas. And so, yeah, we're doing all that. But I have a staff of 15 executive coaches that are brilliant surgeons in the banking industry. 11 of them have greater than 20 years experience in banking, and they can do anything from strategy to relationship to financial forensics. And then we have some outlier coaches, health and wellness, trauma, counseling, because we are people running banks, and people have divorces and deaths and illnesses. And so we're kind of that healthy, well-rounded, what do you need? And so all of this stuff, we have general, what we call lecture hall going on during the week. So that's kind of like being at college. If you like the guy that they're featuring on Tuesday down at the 8 p.m. lecture hall, you can come over and do it. So that's happening over here. So just tons of educating going on. It's progressive, and they're learning, and we're measuring their production. Here's the real deal. Here's where I think our rubber meets the road and why we work. And I ran a previous system to this one, and it worked for 10 years.
You guys have a rubber, Christine?
We have a rubber that meets the road. Sounds gritty. But yes, we do.
Now we're back to biker life.
Let's circle all the way around. Here we go. Back down the hall.
Well, that sounds like a hell of a resource for anybody in that industry. But again, help me think, because once I get something, man, I'm telling you, I'm going to make some money with it. So I have a buddy, right? He's got a mortgage company. He's got loan officers out finding people that want to buy houses, and obviously they're processing the loan. Could you increase his productivity?
That's what we do. Sales acceleration.
Yeah, so if I called my buddy and I said, "Hey, dude, what if I could show you how to get 30% more loans or whatever that is they do?" And he says, "Well, I'd obviously love it." Well, then I'd say, "Christine will come in here and do this." Is that how I connect and make some dough?
Yeah, but you need to figure out how you can make skin in that game, because you're highly connected. And so let me tell you, biz dev managers.
I make skin by connecting.
Yeah, I mean, the whole name of the game in our industry is every bank, big banks, big correspondent lenders, big brokers have a recruiting division under the guise of business development. And those people are out slinging influence out on the social media waves, and they're connecting people like you just described. And they're bringing the talent to the organizations, and the organizations are touting tools that help them increase their production. So if you're at a good bank, broker, correspondent lender, you're working for somebody that's helping you grow your production. I am the person that banks hire so that they can attract more talent to the bank. They say, "We got 2020 under the hood over here at this bank." And then people go, "Oh, I want to do that. Like, I'll go to your bank because you supply 2020 coaching." Yeah, because we're an accelerator.
Name a bank.
Yeah.
Every time you say bank, I'm thinking Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase.
Yeah. So big national banks, Annie Mac, Home Mortgage, Caliber, Nexus, the biggest broker in America. We have them. There's so many. There's first option. I mean, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, the names that you like, big national banks. Let me tell you, no, and if anyone's listening from Bank of America or Wells Fargo, I don't want to off-put anybody. They have the belief system. They're kind of like the church, of. And so their idea is you're going to train under our trainers. And so they're not bringing in outside consultants because they are the Bank of America and they've got their training department, and you're only going to drink the Kool-Aid under their roof. So when you get right below that enormous Bank of America, Wells Fargo area, you get into these national banks that are well known that we're coaching for. And those companies want what we have. I mean, to put dollars in perspective, Annie Mac Home Mortgage is a multi-billion dollar annualized company. All of these ones that I just named are billion-dollar companies. Equity Prime with Eddie Perez. There's so many. And we're not only coaching their LOs, we're coaching the executives on those teams. We have the biggest market share of consulting in the broker industry, in the American broker industry. So hundreds of brokers that are underneath in that silo of business that we're helping there as well. And so, yeah, really lucky. And we get hired a lot to come in and do even concentrated education for all the trade organizations, because all these banks pay dues to trade organizations. It's kind of like unions. And these trade organizations lobby for policy in Washington, D.C. And so they all hire me to come into their conferences because their audiences are filled with bankers and brokers. And who better than an educator like me for a banker and broker to get on their stage and sling some stuff.
Yeah. Now, your event coming up here, is that what that's about? Banking?
Yeah, so kind of, but we're really an interesting type of image.
Well,
First of all,
tell me about the event. It's what dates are they?
Yeah, June 8th and 9th. It starts the evening of the 8th. And that night we do something called the Women with Vision award ceremony. And 72 of the highest ranking women in the American banking industry will be receiving awards in the Great Ballroom down at Tampa Marriott Waterside. There's 2 Tampa Marriotts, by the way. This one's the 505.
I shared that one time, and I had about 10 people hit me in the DM saying, "How do I get tickets for this?" And I said, I don't know.
Yeah. So
how
easy.
Do you get tickets for that?
Send them our way. So just email us at info@visionyoursuccess.net. We'll send you the link, but we're going to have it go to any of our social media. We're in 7 different places. 2020 Vision, as you see the logo over my shoulder, it's 20/20 Vision for Success Coaching. You can find us everywhere on social media, and we have the links and the ads everywhere right now. But if you want the link emailed to you or whatnot, you can just send it to info@. So let's talk about that though, because Brad, I just found out, luckily, that you're going to be our keynote there. The big keynote.
That's exciting for me and twice as exciting for all the bankers that are coming.
Yeah. So you said, tell me about what it's going to be like.
Well, you say they're all kind of, not like, in other words, you wouldn't think Brad Lee's going to do a keynote at a banking convention.
I think it's awesome, but I want to tell you why it's perfect. So we are not, 2020 Vision is not a bank. We are consultants for bankers. So what's really cool about that is I'm so grateful that I got out of direct banking, because I can now wear my leather jacket on Zooms and things like that. And so I'm free as a bird now as a consultant, because I'm now just the outlier to the bankers. Well, we have a really cool vibe at our consulting. We have a couple of magazines. We have lots of things that we do. And we definitely look like that edgy type of consulting for say it like it is. And it was freeing. And I want to thank my chief marketing officer, Candy Zilkowski, because when we designed our brand and we went through the iterations that companies do to decide what you're going to be when you grow up, she suggested I be me. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And she said, yeah, because it'll be easy to be you, right? And it was the funniest conversation, because branders will say, who are you? Write down on a piece of paper who you are with 3 words, and we'll come up with your brands. And she said, you're perfect in that you have the knowledge, you know how to run banks, you've run them, you have the resume that supports it, you've had a great history of running banks to great profit. Nobody can dig in my closet and find any year that I was in banking that I wasn't at the top of where I was, or the position I held, or the ranks of all the sales sheets. It's all there.
You know how it's done.
Yeah, know how it's done. But now I get to do it as a biker banker, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, well, now you get to get outside almost like a celebritized banker, and now you're just like, that's who I want to be like.
I'm nobody in the big world, but I'll tell you what, I come from a place that is just genuine. I want to help people. I walked away from, a huge paycheck as an executive to do this firm. And I love the work that I'm doing. But yeah, I feel free. And you are perfect, because here's what bankers aren't, and here's what bankers need. And this is why we're doing this. Bankers, this is true facts right now. 42% in 2020 of the home buyers pool came from Generation Z. So what's happening then, the Gen Zers. And so for 10 years, the banking industry tried to predict who the buyer pools would be. And of course, it was the boomers forever. And they kept saying, they're coming, they're coming. This generation, the millennials are coming, they're coming. And they didn't come. And I always make a joke that they stayed in their parents' basements and played Fortnite for 10 years, which is pretty much the truth. And literally, as they got up to 32, 33, 34 years old, they started buying houses. In 2019, for the first time in American banking, they took the lion's share of buying at 29% was the number that they came in at. And so here's the deal. They're 42% now of the buying pool. So almost half is going to this generation. And here's where they are. They are on social media. They are not watching TV. Many of them do not have cable television in their homes. They stream from their phones. They lay in beds. They do not look at TVs on walls with remotes. They look at handheld devices. And so the American banking industry needs to be in that space. There is about 10% of banks that get this. We are helping them here at 2020 because we do modern marketing education. We have 5 social media certifications. As you know, my claim to fame was I was not in social media, and then I started teaching myself all the algorithms and things, and I caught the attention of Gary Vaynerchuk because of my rise in the American banking industry, and got that fateful call on December 5th, 2018, and he asked me to speak at his Miami Garden Stadium conference. And so, I sit here today and I tell you, you are perfect because you are a modern marketer. I've been following you for years before using your software, and they're coming to see you because they are interested in where this modern marketing is going. So the whole conference is going to be about that.
And mainly, do you hear any noise, by the way?
Nope. Well,
Jay Duran's not turning on his blow dryer.
It's the furnace behind me. So yes, I'll mute myself while you're talking.
No, you don't have to do that.
We're in New England and it's like 17 degrees out. So I want to put in perspective what the heck's going on. We lost power twice here this week for wind and ice. So anyways.
See, again, this shows you my ignorance. New England. What's the town you're in called?
Yeah. So I'm in Pelham, New Hampshire, which is in southern New Hampshire, right outside of Nashua, New Hampshire.
Yeah, so when someone says New England, they just mean an area, correct?
New England is New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. That's New England.
I was never very good at biography in school.
That's okay. I'll help you out. Yeah.
Yeah, so every time someone says like New England Patriots, I'm thinking, that's not a state or a town. Why does everyone call it something? Like, why not just say where it is? Where do the New England Patriots play?
Foxborough. Massachusetts.
See, so why don't they just call themselves the Oxborough Patriots?
I always ask the same question, and it's actually, if you drive there, it's not easy to, like, you'll wait for hours to get to the parking lots for that stadium. It's crazy. But anyways,
Anyway,
that's
it's
where the
cold as hell
Gillette
there,
Stadium is.
and it's cold as hell there right now.
Cold.
You got
Yeah. We have about a
snow on the
6, 7
ground.
month winter.
Snow on the ground.
Snow on the ground, ice on the ground.
All right, well then I'll forgive your furnace. Hey, so I'm gonna show up and basically explain to them how to leverage social media and modern marketing.
I think you can connect the dots on, exactly what you've done to make Lightspeed successful, which is gigantic. And, that could be anything. We need people that have done marketing in the modern world with success. And so, listen, they have hundreds of banking conferences to go to and sit and listen to boring licensure and regulation and all that. Our conference is not that. It's the Vision Summit. It's about where are we going? How do you get a piece of it? Like, so we're bringing in the people that are going to talk about modern marketing in the banking world. And so we're the fun conference. I mean, come on. And then giving the awards to the women is very unique for us and exciting as well. But yeah,
Can I
you're
be a
perfect for
presenter?
this.
Can I be a presenter of the awards?
You can. You're going to be
Wear a
at that
tuxedo.
part.
Will I wear
You
a
and
tuxedo and just hand it
Yeah,
to him, give him a
yes.
kiss on the
We have a
cheek?
lot of Emmy presenters that night. In fact, last time we did this, we had 17, I think, CEOs that were up on stage, because we give the CEOs of the companies of the women that win an opportunity to come on stage and say a few words about their women. And so what ends up happening is it becomes a really good marketing opportunity, because over the teleprompter in the grand ballroom, if you're a CEO and you go up there and one of your ladies is getting the top banking award, that logo for your company goes up on stage in front of hundreds of bankers, and everybody knows they got a badass woman in that bank. And that's a really good look for that company. So there'll be lots of press there. There'll be magazines there from the banking industry. There'll be podcasters there. We're already getting the press inquiries. They want to cover, what's going on. Barry Habib, who's going to be the keynote ahead of you, who is the number one, and he just won another national award, but basically he's won the Crystal Ball Award in banking for 3 years in a row. It
I
is not
won the
easy to.
Lucille Ball Award.
What's that?
I won the Lucille Ball Award.
See, you two are gonna love each other. So, dude, I won something ball too. I don't know what it is. I'm not witty enough to figure it out. Uh,
Hey,
anyways,
I think this is going to sound like a crazy comment, but if I were listening to this and I were, you know, not making, a couple 100,000 plus a year, I might be
right.
thinking to myself, because if I were listening to this podcast, I'd be like, dude, this lady is like way smart. But this whole banking world, most people, when you think of banking, you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking Wells Fargo, Chase. You're just thinking, oh, they hold your money. They don't understand. Well, that money, number one, is lent out, and the whole actual business of banking. And I think there's an opportunity for a lot of people that have never even tried it to enter that space. Is that like a reasonable
Mm-hmm.
uh, ambition for somebody, or is it like, oh no, man, most people get chewed up and spit out?
Yeah, it is. It is. That's exactly what I built. I felt like, I always pride myself in the very first two things that we teach in business building is obviously a business plan, which everybody needs, and all the components that go with that. And that's a topic of itself. But strategic marketing is the second lesson, second certification we give. And we do it in a really cool and funny way. We have this hip hop guy that won this award from National Geographic for having a multi-million-dollar pencil sharpening company. And we use this video inside of Lightspeed during what we call niche nitrous, which is how to light your engine on fire with marketing. And we teach them that let's talk about modern marketing and pointed marketing. And take take Whole Foods, for instance. I'm sure when Whole Foods was trying to gather its capital and they were pitching this in the boardroom to the investors, somebody was saying, nobody needs another grocery store, dude. Like we were good. We got enough grocery stores. And this guy was saying, but you don't understand. My grocery store is going to be different than every other grocery store because the two words that describe it, Whole Foods, says it all. Everything underneath that roof is going to be organic, overpriced, and they're going to come in droves and they're going to buy it because they don't have to pick the healthy stuff in the grocery store. Subway sandwiches says, I want to build a sandwich. And the investors in that room said, we don't need another fast food sandwich place on this earth. We got 1 million of those. And they say, no, we're going to make fresh, fast subs your way. Subway, right? So when we're doing niche marketing, your name has to reflect what it is you're doing. Light speed VT, 2020 vision for success coaching. What is your vision? It's not my vision. One of the things I pride myself in is we've built a firm that's a la carte because we're not trying to stuff you into the box we created that says this is success. I defined it. I had it. It looks like this. Get in this box. That's not what we do. What we do is you come and you build to us your vision and you show us that, and we build the roadmap. And so anyone that wants to get in the American banking industry, when I decided to do this, I was saying, hey, I want to be a consultant in the American banking industry. Now I'm Subway and Whole Foods at that investment table. And they're like, we need another coach. Like we need a hole in the head. And I'm saying, sitting there, but you don't understand. I'm going to be different. I'm not going to be like the rest of the consultants in the American banking industry. I'm going to bring something that nobody else has ever brought. And that's what we're doing. We are different. And we are grabbing market share because we have solved to a problem during a time. Marketing takes off because there's a problem you're solving and the time is right. Those are the two ingredients to blowing a company up. And so I know startups don't usually make it. I looked at my first 3 years and said, this is what I need for capital. But I also figured out that timing was really important. People were really tired of the consultants that existed in the banking industry for 2 decades.
I would add to that. I would add a third one if I were you, and that is OUTFLOW.
Mm-hmm.
So the two main things you said would be nitrous if you were using nitrous analogy.
Yeah.
Simply by a high quantity of content pushed out into the marketplace.
Yeah.
What were you two? You said there's two things. What was it?
Yeah, it's timing. And it's obviously being unique to the market. It's having the ability to capture market share because you're different.
Yeah. So add to that volume, because again, a lot of people
solving to the problem. Yes, solving to the problem.
Yeah, I mean, it might be the right time, and you might have the right product, and it might be different. But if nobody knows about you, you're still going to sit there on your ass,
that's true,
wondering what happened. And what I try to tell people, and I hope I don't, come out and blow the bankers' minds, but at the end of the day, what I tell people is, man, outflow. Mm-hmm. You have to have a consistent outpouring of content. And when they say, well, what kind of content? That's what we can talk about. But the content has to go out on a regular basis. A lot of people aren't willing to put out that kind of volume.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I think what made me grab Gary Vaynerchuk's attention in my world.
Now see, Gary, just like you just said, Gary, he would agree with what I just said.
Yeah. I listened to his $2 a day when I didn't know anything about social media in 2016. I had no social media, and I'd been in the banking industry 28 years, and I just hadn't needed it. And when I was getting ready, I was 2 years away from launching this. By the way, I bought the domain to this namesake in 2006, and I knew it was a dream, but I didn't want anyone else to take it. So people probably thought I jumped on some sort of bandwagon when the year 2020 was coming. That was born in my brain in 2006 and captured and labeled, and I was just sitting on it waiting for it to come. The year 2020 would be wind in our sails, obviously, from that standpoint. But I had to self-teach myself marketing. And I want to tell you, I think like most human beings, I thought, holy crap, this is going to be nauseating. I need to go out there now and tout my awards and show my magazine covers or all the things that I had done, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to listen to that. And I had some great mentors in marketing, and Gary, who was saying, like, listen, you've got to sling your expertise because people do want it. And you got to fish with what you got to fish with your own genuine bait and let the people that are going to come and drown the haters out. And so I've just like put on those glasses and I said, all right, like, this is it. I'm going to just do this. I am an expert. I am an expert. I'm an expert in the banking industry. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to say I am, and I'm going to own it. And we're just going to go and we're going to do this thing. And I'm going to just not care about all the people that say, oh, she's full of herself or whatever. And so not only did I do it, but I did something really smart. I kept saying while I was doing it, Gary taught me this. And I would tag his name. You know, I learned this from Gary. I got this from Gary. And so, yeah, you know, it's a magical day when New York City calls your phone. I know exactly where I was standing when that call came in and exactly what I was thinking when I answered the phone. And they said, Mr. Vaynerchuk would like to speak to you at 3:00 this afternoon. I don't care what I was doing. It was like I was clearing the schedule. And man, I don't remember ever being so nervous as I was on that call. And it was just, my legs could have come out from underneath me in Miami Garden Stadium, stepping onto that stage with thousands and thousands of people. But in that moment, I'm going to tell you, I became a believer of the modern marketing world because I'm not someone kissing Gary Vaynerchuk's ass and saying it works when it doesn't because I want Gary to like me. I did what he said and it worked. And it has launched my company. And so he knew that because I had the results. And so he was like, this is a real testimony. This isn't a fake one. Like, she did this and you can see she's done this. And so I want to put her up on stage. And I did the real estate influencers panel. And on that stage were modern marketers, John Morgenstern from VaynerMedia, paid for VaynerMedia, John C. Tolbert, the president of Four Seasons Hotel. They had just launched the Belize Hotel. And he talked about lifestyle blogging and what rich people look at when they look at modern marketing. And I was hanging on every word, even though I was the correspondent on the stage interviewing these guys. Molly, all of the people that were up there were incredible. And they literally were the best of the best in our industry. So anyways, we're going to bring a summit to the banking industry that's going to bring to the forefront everything in this industry that people need to know about being where their buyer is. I just said 40% of the home buyers are millennials. We need the bankers to get in their space from an advertising standpoint. And so I'm going to help them do that. You're going to help them do that. And all the people coming to the Vision Summit are going to help them move that needle.
Man, that sounds like it's going to be a blast. I'm glad you picked me, Christine, or someone on your team.
I feel blessed. I feel really blessed to have met you. I hope I make you proud in the years to come. One of the things, you know, I'm very loyal, and your software, I know you didn't pay me to say this, and I don't need to say this, but I need you to know, like, we read your release notes that come out weekly. Like, what new is happening with your software, because we want to wrench the towel dry. And by being the people that use it right, we can really testimonial what works well.
Dang. I'm going to need to start sending you checks.
I'll tell you what, we've tested your team because we use the reporting systems. This will make you feel really good. We pull reports. We have a girl whose sole job is to pull Lightspeed reports. She's paid to pull Lightspeed reports. We take those Lightspeed reports and we give them to the executives that bought the contracts with us to educate their loan officer pools. And we show them the curriculum trajectory. And we have student ambassadors that ensure that they are on the syllabus track that we have defined. And we can measure that every single week. And we have people that are examining that. And those reports, which a lot of softwares don't give you. A lot of softwares allow you to do the training, but don't have all these other bells and whistles, don't have a read library or social media content curation or,
community,
calendar,
leaderboards,
community, all of that. And
Yeah.
we use it all. We use it all. We certify. I mean, we got people getting those diplomas everywhere. So we're just using it. I will tell you, we vetted 13 softwares the year that we looked to do this, and you were one. And my IT girl made an Excel spreadsheet with like 20 columns saying, functionalities, speed, cost, all of the things. And everywhere we looked, it just lined up. And we wanted a system that would take us to the future. And we said, we don't want to get on a buggy. We want to get on a rocket ship because we want to go where this thing's going and we want to help you get there. So, what better, I think, than a person like us or people like us that are going to use your system as you intended it,
There you go.
make real differences in real lives. The software has allowed us to be in a million places at once to scale. And so many companies are defied by that because they don't have the ability to scale, and Lightspeed allows them to do that. And so, for me, that's profit that allows me to lean into, what it is that is there, to see what they're doing. It's very modern. It's what the millennials want. They want to do it when they're walking, talking, driving. They don't want to do it sitting. And so the first thing we do during orientation is we say, download lightspeedvt.com and bookmark it on your iPhone. So we got hundreds of users running around with bookmarks on their iPhones, and they're Bluetoothing them in their driveways because even though we have videos, all of our educations work from an audio only standpoint, meaning they do not have to watch the video to get the lesson. So we teach them that in orientation. And so it works. Your system has stayed sticky because we stay stuck with it. We make them stick with it.
Well, four things. Four things: good content, repetition, practice, and accountability. That's the four things that are necessary to actually teach somebody and get actual, results. And
Yep.
that's what you're delivering.
That's it.
Man, I'll tell you, I'm excited as ever to come out there in Tampa and do this. I'm gonna talk to you offline so I can make sure it hits home. But man,
We will have long talks and we will make sure that everything is awesome.
well, good. Now, folks, just for you guys listening, she has books out there I forgot to mention: Wise Eyes, Clear Boundaries, Breaking the Cycle, Win or Learn. She's a far more prolific expert or subject matter expert than I let on, because I was enthralled with the biking discussion. But you guys need to go check her out. You can find her on Instagram at 2024 Success, YouTube, Facebook, IG, Twitter, the whole bit. VisionYourSuccess.net. And obviously, if you guys are in the banking space and want to kick some ass, go to that event and or reach out for someone for their coaching and their programs. Christine,
I love that
appreciate
you
coming
talked
out here.
about bikers, and I love that you talked about that with me. Thank you.
Well, I grew up with bikers, and that's why I said like outlaw bikers, because like my aunt and my uncle's still a biker, but there was a group called the Free Souls and the Hells Angels.
Mm-hmm.
You ever heard of the Free Souls and the Hells Angels?
Yeah, both.
Yes. So like
Yeah.
my aunt and some of my family were around the Hells Angels and the Free Souls, and like real. They're called outlaw bikers, but
Yes.
they kind of shielded me a little bit, but not really. In other words, I never really got heavily involved in that world. But dude, I like that whole world because there's a freaking culture and a
Yes.
community and a brotherhood and a belonging.
There is a brotherhood.
and rules. Like everybody abides by the culture, which you can ask Jay Duran, obviously, once we jump off. That's kind of what I think a culture is, just an accepted form of
Yes.
behaviors.
Yep.
And
Everyone's like-minded.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, it just makes for that's why you feel at home in groups like that, regardless whether they're outlaw or freaking bankers or companies. That's why if people really want a successful career, they need to make and or find a company that has exceptional culture.
Listen, I'm so grateful to be on Dropping Bombs and actually talk about me, the person. I get a lot of interviews, and no offense to all the interviewers out there that keep me in the banking seat and in discussion, and that's fine. And I'll talk all about it. It's my passion, but it's real nice to be asked a lot of personal questions, and at this age, allow my freak flag to fly, if you will. So there it is. And I didn't say F on this show, and I use that in that's kind of amazing, because of all the places I could have done it. I didn't do it here. So
Nor did I. See, when we're around like-minded people, we just start to gel. It's kind of like when well, I won't even go there. Folks, go to this event, go follow her. Christine, appreciate you coming on the show. And everybody, until next time, keep it real.
Dropping bombs with the real Bradley. Subscribe now.